Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Disgaea After the End of Darkness. Last episode, well, I'm your host, Not, and let me explain what happened. If you were here a few hours ago, you may have noticed that I had I had this stream scheduled as a guerrilla stream, or yeah, and you may have noticed that, well, that the stream never went live, so it just kind of sat there for a few hours, and I'm sure if you checked out what was happening, you probably would have like, what in the world, no? let me explain. So I decided to make a grinding session for Disgaea. And that is why, if you check out this, we are on episode 3, right? And so you have a playtime of 8 hours instead of what's supposedly like the 5 hours in spare change that we ended last episode on, right? Because I think if you count like each episode is around 3 hours, maybe somewhat less, right? And you have some saving and loading in between and some saves coming, so all in all that would be 5 hours in spare change. So then, what happened is, I ended up not hitting the go live button, and so I grinded for a solid 3 hours right there and then, right? And I got a lot of stuff done. And by a lot I mean like I'm ready to just kind of steamroll through the next couple of episodes with you guys. And and if you didn't watch episode 3.5, then you would actually have missed out on some story, because remember, I ended the last episode on the beginning of episode 3 introduction, so that's why I decided to speed through the game a little bit. And that's how you get this. It's I know it says 4 hours and 21 minutes when we started from episode 1, which is 3 hours and 42 minutes, but it's actually a lot shorter than that, because I decided to use my extremely magical and functional speed up button, and when you hold that down, the game somehow becomes overclocked and it goes very, very fast. And with that in mind, I may or may not have held the button for a little bit longer than I should have. And in theory, I mean, without the speed up button, you probably could have ran, I don't know, it still wouldn't take that long, honestly. It's just, I couldn't be bothered to wait during enemy turns, so I just hit that button, and when you get it, it actually speeds up probably a bit faster than you need it to, as you said before. And so what happens is, you know, you hold it down for like maybe like 5 seconds, and suddenly 20 minutes have passed. Well, okay, that's an exaggeration. Probably like 5 minutes have passed in game, so like there is still a bit of idle time. But anyway, yes, I did end up going through and saving this time at the very beginning of episode 3. So what happens? What I think we're going to do with this episode 3.5 is I am going to actually just skip over to our new save file, right? Oh, and speaking of which, that's right. That wasn't the worst of it. Okay. It wasn't that I grinded. Okay, right. It was that I overwrote the save file for episode 2 ending, which is a kind of why I had to do all of this in the first place. That's right. That was the worst of things. I can't believe I forgot to tell you guys that first and foremost. But yeah, see, if you look, here's episode 1, here's the end of episode 1, suddenly here we hit episode 3, which is wrong. There should be the beginning of episode 2 right here, and then episode 3 here. So the speedrun version is of episode, well, of the past save file is, how should I say it? It's a little, well, it's a little bit lacking because we didn't spend all those hours grinding for... We didn't spend all those hours grinding for better gear, right? And so, let's just hop into this one, because you're not gonna get spoiled by any sort of story. Because all I've done was grind in the item world, and that's pretty much all I've done. So, if you notice, all our characters are pretty much at a slightly higher level, okay? And then we also unlocked a rogue, and let me tell you how we unlocked the rogue. So, when you go into the character creation system, right? You can actually unlock new classes that are hidden by level requirements for other classes that you have access to. So to unlock the rogue and the scout, not the scout. I don't think I remember the scout requirements, but I think it may or may not have to do with leveling mages. Maybe not. Well, whatever the case is, what happened was I leveled up a warrior class and a brawler class, both to level 5. And when that happened, it unlocked the rogue class, for sure, right? That's the requirements to unlock the rogue class. And at the same time, I also unlocked the requirements for the scout class. And so, as you can tell by our higher tier rogue class that you can create by virtue of having a higher level rogue to begin with in your team, right? I created a rogue. And as I demonstrated in the lost archives of our 3.5, our first 3.5 episode, the rogue class is actually pretty good because let's grab, say, our warrior, for example, and I named her fighter, right? And I'm going to have her steal something. Let's use the stealing hand that we leveled up. Right, and as you can tell, the odds aren't that good. The Iron Claw odds are just 0%. And you can barely steal the Fancy Blade, and those are 2 items we want to steal. And these normal items, while you can steal them and sell them for money, you know, it's still pretty low odds, right? And these are around the same level as our fighter. However, if I pull up our rogue, which I named Han, by the way, and I think her it's a female. I think her gender is female. I could be wrong. It's been a very long time since I've actually bothered checking what's beneath those pants. But I do know that future installments make it clear that the rogue is a female class. So I'm just gonna call this rogue a female. It may or may not be a male. May or may not be. I can't tell. Maybe just a very cute male, yes. Anyway. Wait, I think we can... Maybe, no. Setting. No, never mind. Okay. Going back to the topic at hand. So, with the rogue here, as you can see here, if we use the same stealing hand, which has a hit of 42, and remember I mentioned that the hit value here for the stealing hand is what determines your odds of stealing are. And if you hover over your own self and other characters, you notice that the rogue has an incredibly high odds of stealing in comparison at the same level. And if you also notice, there's this extra thing down at the bottom here, this blue name, right? This thing is a specialty of the rogue in that it can actually steal stat points from enemy characters. Or it doesn't even have to be enemy characters, no, it just has to be a unit. Like you can steal from your own allies too. Well, for example, let me load, say, a pretty here, right? Let's load a pretty up. We're going to be reloading this save file, so it doesn't matter what we do to it. What matters is that I demonstrate this. So let's say we have a pretty here, right? And then I want to steal some stats. I want to gain stats, right? Okay, so from gas we can steal kindness, and in parentheses it basically says, okay, so you're actually what you're actually stealing is what you're actually gaining is some SP, right? Oh. And with this in mind, if you notice, Gash has 5 SP and Hand has 64. So if we use a stealing hand right here, okay, it's a 62% chance, so let me hope that it works. Of course it missed! You can't even demonstrate it right. Goodness. Yeah, let's move to the tutorial spot. Oh, okay, just ignore that. That's like... That's part of this introduction to the episode 3 that you have to deal with. We'll get there when we get there. I'll make sure that we actually get an appropriate episode 3 intro scene, and then I will cut back to this particular save file. Okay. Now, let me demonstrate for real this time. Okay, honor gives us defense, right? So let's see. Okay, this ghost has 6 defense, and our rogue, has 15 defense right now, right? So let's hope it steals. Boom. Okay. You just got a notification that Hand has stolen 3 defense, and so Hand has actually gained this defense. And you can see it's 18 now. And you can see with this ghost, it's now 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. So that does, the math does check out. Yes. And what you can do is, what this does is, well, the rogue actually keeps this stat bonus for, well, pretty much in the entirety of its existence. The only way you lose stat points here is if you use a mechanic that I mentioned in 3.5, again, in the Lost Archive. And that was the Transmigration System. And it basically resets your level for better stats. That's pretty much it. And it increases your stats by a lot if you do it right. And that's how you get really strong. But when you reset your level with that method, right, you lose your stolen stats. But as you can see here, we're back. We're back now, right? And we are Yes, we're back. We're back in the hub now, and as you can see, our rogue still has a defense of 18. And so if we unequip this, right, unequip the Imperial Seal, which increases the defense, and we re-equip it, it still says 8. You know, it'll go back to 18. So yes, you can steal stats like that, and it's pretty good. I think, if I recall correctly, the total stat sum you can steal is around, isn't it 10,000s, right? So you can pretty much steal forever. But that's kind of like a top off to finalize your total stats. And yeah, you can, yeah, it's pretty busted. I think you can steal a lot. You can, because I think if in endgame wise, just hitting like level 100 in story mode is pretty much your end game, right? And at that point, like, you don't really need to steal stats at all. Like, but yeah, you won't be seeing like your stat stealing be. Actually no. You can. That is viable. Okay. Think about it this way. If you steal defense 100 times and you get 3 defense from each of it, right? 3 defense from each steal on average. You get 300 extra defense. And that is, yeah, that's pretty much enough to tank hits. Yeah, that is way more than enough. You'd be solid. Yeah, and so like, yeah, with that in mind, right? And so at level 100, I mean that's pretty much when resetting your level for bonus stats actually starts becoming, you know, something that you might consider doing. But before then, it's kind of like, you know, you don't really have much of a reason to reset your progress. And that, so like, if you're playing this casually, like, just stealing stats is pretty useful. And it also makes up for how useless the rogue is in terms of its base stats, its base stat growth, and its aptitude in equipment. Whereas, yeah, see, 60, 50, 60, 40, and 60, and then 50%. The only 100% the rogue has in aptitude is speed and hit. So you're basically getting half of what your equipment is supposed to provide, which is really, really poor. Really poor. So that's when stat stealing comes in handy, because you aren't relying on your equipment more than you are relying on actually stealing stuff. It's a pretty neat mechanic. I think it returns, I think you actually lose that function later on in later installments. It returns somewhere. Maybe. But then I think, what is it? No, actually, no. It doesn't return. It returns differently. I mean, it doesn't return in the way it is here. It's something, yeah, it's a totally different and revamped system that is not rogue exclusive, so there's that too. Anyway, now let's look at sword, because that's where most of our progress was in, okay? First of all, we got ourselves a legendary staff, and I topped it off with a bunch of specialists. How this came to be was, I entered the item world, right? The stealing hand, and the plunder hands. And as you can see, I went through 20 levels of this darn thing. And within all these plundering hands and stealing hands, I was able to get our rogue to steal a legendary staff from one of the characters in the item world. Yes, it is, I believe, a 1 in 16. No, not 1 in 16. I made this same math error in the in the lost stream. It's 16 out of 256. 16 out of 250. Wait a minute. No, wait, yeah, that is right. That is a 1 in 16 chance. Yeah, okay, never mind. So it is right. It is right. My bad. So yes, it is a 1 in 16 chance of encountering a legendary item when an item spawns. So it's not actually all that rare. Okay? The rarity part comes from getting rarity bonus, which is when the say rarity value equipped. Then you actually, because if you, okay, that's another system. So when you have two or more equipments of the same rarity, right? So if we look at the staff here, it has rarity value of 2. If we equip another item with a rarity value of 2, you gain a slight bonus from each equipment. So like, if I equipped a legendary item with a rarity of 2, it gives you like a 5% bonus or something from each of these items. And so you'd get like, yeah. But you also have a rare, I think, you get a legend bonus. Just for having a legendary item equipped with another legendary item, I think you get a bonus. Maybe. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Maybe not in this installment. It varies from installment to installment. But whatever the case is, you ideally would want oh no, it only applies for legendary items. If you do have multiple legendary items, they do enhance each other, even if they aren't of the same rarity value. However, if you want to get the most out of your equipment, yes, you do want like all rarity 2s across the board for like maximum equipment bonus, but that's like min-maxing, and you don't really have to worry about that. Again, in a casual playthrough, that's like something you'd invest your safe scumming and grind in. And then I did get ourselves some slippers, and I did increase the statistician values. And here I decided to move some stats over, right? So what happens is, I decided to move all the raw stat increasing stats, all raw stat increasing specialists onto the staff. And I decided to add move the percentage, or not move, but keep the percentage increasing specialists inside the rosary. Oh, right, we got a rosary, which is a direct upgrade to the Imperial Seal. So I just moved that over. And we got it from the Netherworld Hospital claim prizes, because once you hit a certain mark, right, with the HP and SP and deaths recovered, you get prizes. You've seen it. So I just did the same reset thing I did for the Imperial Seal, and that's how I got the Dark Rosary to be a rare value. Okay. And that's also how I got the Star Orb. So if you might notice that if I unequip this staff, the difference is 300. And if you look at the int stat, right, it drops from 594 to 243. That is over 300 difference. But the staff only increases you by 227. So what's going on here? Well, we have Weapon Mastery, right? Okay, so you might first look at the aptitude. I'm sorry. That might be the first thing you go look at, and it's like, well, okay, so I have an aptitude of 100% in int, so I'm clearly supposed to get 227 value points in int as a bonus, right? Well, what's happening is we have this thing called Weapon Mastery, and if you notice, our weapon staff mastery for sword is at level 11, and every level in your weapon mastery actually gives you bonus stats from the equipped item. And so at level 11, you're getting a pretty solid percentage bonus, I see. It's like, at this point, you're getting like 50% bonus or something. Because that's just about an extra 100 points, right? Yeah, actually, it might be over 100 points. Hold on. Yeah, that's pretty much 50% right there. That's like over 100 extra points from this weapon, just alone, right? And so that's how we have nearly 600 int on a cleric right now. And so she's able to kind of, yeah, that's also the reason why she's able to steamroll through most of the story now. So you can look forward to that. And then, right, okay. And so you're like, okay, so does that mean that humanoids are just better because monsters don't have weapon mastery, so they can't get the percentage bonus from master weapons? And you are correct, okay? As a humanoid character, you are able to take advantage of weapon mastery, and early on in the game, you become a menace in terms of damage output due to this. Monsters, on the other hand, don't get this advantage. Okay, and they kind of get gimped. However, once you hit level 100, right, you actually start gaining bonus percentages from your equipment, okay? And so say, you know, you get like a 10% bonus at level 100, which is actually a little bit too much for a level 100 bonus. It's a bit less. It's a bit less than that, maybe like 1 or 2% bonus starting off. And then once you hit like 500, level 500 and level 1000, that's when you start actually seeing like 30-50% increases in what your armor should be giving you, right? And so this level bonus applies to your armor for humanoids, right? But for the monsters, it also applies to their weapons, okay? And at the very, very end of the math, right? When you hit level 9,999, the monsters get like, oh, I don't know, it's like something stupid, like it's over 10 times the raw base, I believe, or at least 5 times the base of what the armor is stated. So if you had like 50, say you had like a 50 increase in your speed, right, from an armor at max level, you'd actually gain like 500 from it, and that applies to each and every single piece of equipment, right? And with the weapon mastery, if you max out the weapon mastery, and you have to take the time to actually max out the weapon mastery, right? And I think it caps at level 255, which takes a very long time to do. It takes a bunch of grinding. But at that point, you would also gain the equivalent of whatever the max level bonus is, okay? So your weapon mastery is independent of level equipment bonus, but level equipment bonus does not apply for humanoid weapons. And the thing here is that the level 255 weapon mastery bonus multiplier just falls short of your max level bonus. So you actually get just slightly less stats from weapon mastery. So the humans at the very end kind of get gimped out, okay? Just barely. What the humanoids do get is that they do get like a few several thousand actually from endgame weapons on their desired offensive stat. But if you want to build like max attack, then monster is the way to go. But oh yeah, and also humanoids also get to use weapon skills, which are superior to monster skills, by the way. They're just better. just the skill damage multiplier wise is just off the charts. So there's that too. I think maybe. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, the humanoids do slightly get the better half. Monsters get gimped, yeah. Monsters get gimped either way, because by the time early game, you invest in humanoids, right? And by the time you get late game, or mid game, it's like, well, I want to call it mid game. I call it like post game. Post game is technically mid game in terms of your grind quest. Yeah, well, that is besides the point by now. Like, I've probably talked your ears off about nonsense regarding what happened and how the grind works, and some nonsense numbers. Well, what's important here is that we did. Well, I mean, not important, but like what you have to get the gist of it is that the stream that I did not stream because I forgot to press the go live button had me grind through a bunch of stuff. Had me grind through the item world and get our cleric up to level 30. And she also got a legendary staff to the boot, which, you know, boosted her to steamrolling levels. And we also got a rogue, who's now able to, who'll be good for stealing nice gear. And I'd like to level her up some more, because it's important to level up your rogue to be able to steal anything in the game. Also, this also means that I don't have to worry about money anymore, because I can just go into the other world, steal something with a stealing hand, and sell it for more than how much I bought the stealing hand for. Stonks, yes. Whew. With that being said, I think that will be that'll be the end for our quick recap 3.5. We'll come back to the oh, yeah. And so next episode what we'll do is we'll start with this save file, right? And you'll be able to see the introduction of episode 3. Then we'll hop back to this save file where I've grinded everything. and I hope I hope that doesn't make anyone kind of like upset that we were kind of doing somewhat of a jarring skip. I kind of well I mean, the idea was sort of that I would have a recap for episode 4 and what I did on episode 3 anyway, because I know that, you know, some people might not watch episode 3.5 due to it being advertised as, yeah, I'm just grinding, so like, you could just skip this, I'll tell you what I grinded later. Yeah, we're jumping save files. Well, if you did watch this episode, I guess, you know, you'll have the time of your life listening to me talk a lot more than I usually do in a stream, because there was a good handful to unpack, right? Yes. Phew. And that is all. That will be all for today, yes. I've been your host, Nat, and thank you for watching. Well, actually, no, that should be, that was backwards. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day wherever you are. And I've been your host, Nat. Yeah. Phew. Okay. What's not deshita? What? That's all, you know? I did spend a good 3 hours grinding, so like, I don't... and then I'm writing the wrong save file, so I really don't feel like playing some more Disgaea. It hurts me. I feel kind of better that I messed up the timelines a little bit, you know? It's like, oh, well, whoops. Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I have a scheduled stream later for today, I think, so you can look forward to that. I know, it is a little bit of a shorter stream today, yeah. Well, not today, but for this episode. It's okay, it's episode 3.5. It's just a little interlude now. Oh, okay. Well, yes, it'll be on it, yes. Let's not. Oh yeah, by the way, I think I may or may not have some background noise at with this setup. I'll see like if I can maybe edit the noise suppression or cancellation so that that doesn't happen. If you heard any background noise, yeah, I'll make sure that that doesn't interfere with future streams. All things considered, I think like I may or may not have had the same issue with the forgotten 3.5 that doesn't exist in terms of background noise, so I might see if I can. Well, yeah, I'll see what I can do. What's not? Oh yes, and screen. It's very cute.